Welcome to Touched and Empowered, a show created to empower individuals to value their lives by hosting think tank discussions that will inspire positive action. Touched and Empowered with Katie and Ace starts now.
Hello, everyone.
Hello, and welcome to this episode of Touched and Empowered. So, the topic today is things that you can do to help boost your spirit when you are by yourself.
That is the loftier version of what I recommended.
That is the loftier version than what we said before, which is just what shit you can do by yourself.
I was going to say your favorite things to do alone, but okay.
Well, that might have a completely different answer.
Maybe let's start with that. Then we can roll to the empowering.
Okay.
Oh, what is the favorite? What is your favorite thing to do alone, Katie? One of the favorite things, and we can name them and drop them randomly.
Well, right now, one of the favorite things that I like to do is listen to an audiobook uninterrupted.
Mm.
Because you really can't do that with a group unless you plan ahead of time.
Mm.
You know, like after each chapter, we'll have a discussion about what we heard.
Mm-hmm.
I found that out that, you know, when I'm listening to an audiobook, if someone else is listening with me, those kind of agreements need to be made beforehand, because otherwise they'll start talking mid-chapter when I'm trying to pay attention to what's being said in the book.
Oh.
So that's why I like to listen to my audiobooks by myself, because then there's no interruptions except for, you know, me hitting the pause button.
Oh, that's lovely.
Well, and my sister Jamie says the same thing about watching movies.
Mm-hmm.
You know, if it's a movie that she's already seen, she doesn't mind watching it with other people, because then if they start asking questions about the plot or the characters or something, she's not missing out on anything. But if it's the first time she's watching a movie, she'd rather watch it by herself. So then that way she's not interrupted by someone asking questions about what's going on if they miss something. Because she likes to watch like mysteries and scary movies and stuff like that.
That makes sense. Yeah.
So what about you?
So I have this tendency to, when I like something on Netflix or any platform, if it's a TV show or if it's a movie, I have this tendency to watch it like every night for like 30 days. And
You just binge watch it.
Repeatedly, especially if it's a movie. Like the one that I'm watching right now is Night Teeth, and you know that Halloween's coming up, right?
Right, Halloween's coming up.
So Night Teeth, I've been watching it every night or whenever it's like you know how you put on the news and it keeps going and whatever.
Background noise.
It's that's my background noise like for 30 days. So to not feel judged, look, it's an interesting thing because it's a way to self-soothe. Especially if you either have high anxiety or ADHD, is that you'll watch the same thing over and over and over and over and over again because it actually reduces the anxiety. And it's funny because like that's not normally, it's not like common occurrence. It's like an atypical thing. So I love doing that because I don't feel judged by myself.
Yes, and I can't say that there's anything wrong with that because like I grew up when we were homesick from school. My mom would put in musicals. Gene Kelly, Judy Garland, Fred Astaire, Frank Sinatra, whoever.
Mm-hmm.
So when I don't feel good, guess what I like to listen to?
Yes, there you go. Like those are some of like listening to your favorite comforting things.
Right.
And so that's one of them. Gilmore Girls is another. And it depends because sometimes I'll watch a movie literally for 30 to 60 days. It's the same movie every night. Like one of them was like Maleficent 2. Like I watched that every
That's a good movie. I mean, that's a good one just to watch on repeat.
Yeah, and so like to do alone, especially like well, because I lived alone during these times and I still live alone, right? I really love being able to just do that because it's something that's just very comforting and also empowering depending on the movie
Right.
of how I'm feeling. Sometimes it was Resident Evil. A lot of
That's
horror, like,
just a good, for me, it's the whole series.
yeah, I'll watch the
Like
entire
I will
thing.
do the entire series of Resident Evil. I'll do the entire series of like the Jurassic Park movies or Harry Potter, whatever mood I'm in.
Hmm.
I will watch that whole series, or not necessarily watch it, but I'll have it playing in the background.
Yeah, exactly. Episode 7 of Wednesday Addams, I will just that episode specifically. I will have on play because I love when Uncle Fester shows up. I will watch that episode whenever I feel the need to just like have that sense of comfort. Um, I love doing that. And I remember I was living with people before and they bought me the DVD to Maleficent 2 and Frozen 2 because I just kept watching it over and over and I wouldn't stop. Like I was 30 days. I would just watch this and Sabrina. Just so that is one of my favorite things to do because I don't feel judged when I do it. And it's like it is very self-soothing.
I mean, there's a lot of different activities that I think people can do that they just feel more comfortable doing it alone, either because of the fact that they don't feel judged, or maybe even it could be that they're worried about being judged if they do that particular activity. Like, for example, cooking. When I cook, I don't want anyone else in the kitchen.
Mm.
Now, part of that is my paranoia of being distracted while I'm cooking.
Mm-hmm.
Don't want any kitchen accidents. But that's just my personal preference. There are other people who it could be, writing, or they don't want someone to be looking at them while they're reading.
That is pretty creepy.
That can be creepy.
Yeah,
Trust me, there were several times where I've been like, stop looking at me while I'm reading my book. So I mean, there's so many different things that we perceive when we're doing activities. We not only are perceiving how we look and how we feel, but also questioning what other people think about us doing these activities. I mean, it's harmless to sit there and read. I mean, assuming that you're not reading something that's actually dangerous. It's harmless to sit there and read a book.
Anything could be dangerous if you think
but
about it.
Anything could be dangerous when you think about it. I mean, you could take that book and hit somebody with it. That could be pretty darn dangerous.
I broke up with someone for that. Yes, you can.
Okay.
Yes, it could be. Anyways, back to the empowering thing. Yes.
Back to the empowering thing.
Yes.
One of the things that I remember, and I don't remember where I heard this or when I heard this, but I know it's been floating around forever, which is sing like nobody's listening, dance like nobody's watching.
Oh yeah, that quote.
That kind of quote where it's, just have fun doing it.
Yes. Like chores. I love music, chores, dancing, singing. My neighbors hear me when I sing, so that's a little bit different, but yes.
I think it all depends on whether or not your neighbors come up and bang on the door and say stop singing, or whether they just applaud.
I get the applaud or somebody singing back. That's my favorite response, when other people are inspired to sing themselves. Like,
yes. Yes, when they start singing along, yes.
Like,
yeah. And it's funny because like for me, I will sing in the car.
Mm-hmm.
I will sing at the top of my lungs in the car.
Mm.
And I usually ignore everyone around me while I'm singing in the car.
Mm.
Every now and then I will start hearing other people sing along with me, and I will hear other people and then there are people that are yelling at me, telling me to shut up because I can't sing for a damn. And I'm like, you know what? You don't have to listen to me. You can turn up your radio and listen to something else instead of listening to me sing. And I just keep right on doing it because I'm in my car, I'm in my space, and I can kind of ignore the outside world.
This is true. And you can also drive off. and never see them again.
Yeah, once the light turns green, you can then drive off and never see them again.
There you go.
Don't run red
Yeah.
lights to get away from people.
Yeah, no, we don't condone that. We please
don't
drive
condone
safely.
that.
Yes. Speaking of like running red lights, I guess. Travel. I love 72-hour travel trips solo. I actually really love them.
72-hour. Is that like just jumping on a plane, flying somewhere, spending the day, and then jumping on a plane, going back home?
That's expensive, but kind of. I would more like, let's drive this way, go to a town I've never been to, and just kind of enjoy something that's there.
Right.
I used to like do this all the time, especially if somebody gave me like an address that we would meet up. Like, for instance, every year I would go to Utah with some friends,
Mm-hmm.
and we'd go snowboarding. And essentially that's a 14-hour drive, right? But that is one of the most wonderful solo drives I've done. Don't get me wrong, it is dangerous, so you should always like have somebody who has your location, I guess, to kind of monitor that you're getting somewhere safely. But I love that. I actually love being able to do that, just keep my eye on the road, and then everyone knows I'm traveling, so I can just shut the phone off.
Yes.
And for the communication or whatever, and just drive. And there is something psychological to driving and then having scenery in the background.
Mm-hmm.
It helps put your past behind you and helps you process.
Yeah, I have done not necessarily the solo trips. I've done a couple of those, and I agree with you. They're not bad. I do like doing the driving. But there's been a handful of times where I felt the need to just, for lack of a better term, get away from it all.
Yeah.
And I will admit to doing this 3 times. But I have gotten him. I live in the Baltimore, Maryland area. So we have the Baltimore Beltway that goes all the way around Baltimore. Now, granted, there are the Key Bridge is down, so right now you can't go all the way around. But when it was there, I would get in my car and I would pay the tolls and I would just circle the Beltway. And I did 3 laps, 4 laps of just circling. I mean, so it was 3 or 4 hours of nonstop driving, just circling the Beltway. While, I mean, granted, it's not a lot of beautiful country scenery. It's not anything really excited, outside of the vehicle when you're doing that kind of driving, because it's all city stuff. But it let me do that kind of processing that you were talking about on going on a long drive.
Mm-hmm.
But literally I was just driving in circles for a couple hours and just paying the toll every time I crossed the bridge.
Wow, that's yeah. Well, it's enjoyable. It was funny. I was talking to somebody about this last night, how so we were talking about communication. Is one of my really good friends, and he was like, in a relationship, he used to feel really that's a dopamine drip. He was like really expecting somebody to return his text message when he was dating them, like 3 times a day. Like, he really expected it. And I told him, like, honestly, I'm okay with somebody just disappearing for 72 hours as long as they tell me that they're doing it. Then I can keep my mind off of it and I'll be fine, because I like doing the 72-hour solo trips. I love doing it. This person was kind of just like, what?
Well, I think that's part of that communication, that's setting the expectation. Because I know that there have been times, which really long marriage, things just become habit.
Right.
Setting boundaries, for example, if I am at work and you send me a text message, I am not going to respond immediately.
As you should. Yes.
You will get a response when I go on break. When I'm not on a phone call. If it is urgent, then you call me. Don't send me a text message. If it's urgent, you call me. Because then I know that, okay, as soon as when I'm done with this phone call, I need to take a break
And
and call you back.
Perfectly fine. Yeah.
So setting up those kinds of rules makes it easier because then, like, for example, those rules have been in place for so long that my son knows that if he sends me, granted, I don't work in an office anymore, but if he sends me a text message, if I don't answer right away, it's because he knows that I'm busy, I'm working, I'm doing whatever.
Hence the text.
And I will send him a text message back when I can. My son rarely calls me. Normally, he's like, I want to talk to you. Are you available at this time? And then I can schedule time to have a phone call with him that works with my schedule and works with his schedule. It works out great.
There you go. And that's really great. See?
So I think I understand where your friend's coming from with if they have the expectation of immediate responses and then all of a sudden they don't have an immediate response.
Right, but setting that expectation of
But
like,
setting that kind of expectation that, okay, Monday through Friday, I'm at work, so don't expect it kind of deal, then, it helps everyone kind of be on the same page.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. And my favorite thing is like, if you need to be present with somebody, be present with the person. That makes sense to me always. If, let's say, you see my message and you're like, oh shoot, I should message them. They know I'm at work. I'll message them after work. Or they don't know I'm at work, but I'm with somebody. Let me text them maybe 30 minutes later to let them know I'm okay.
Right.
Something like that.
And I think it also depends on the relationship that you have with the person who's sending you a text message.
All my friends do this. I don't really like have many friends that don't. So it's kind of interesting.
Well, again, these are friends, these are people you know, and everything else like that. So if a brand new friend, like when you and I were first texting each other, we had to come up with the acknowledgement as to, okay, if Katie doesn't respond immediately, it's because Katie's doing 30-some million things in the world, and she'll respond to me as soon as she can. Just like I know if I send you a text message, you're probably working on 30-some million things, and you'll get back to me as soon as you can. Plus, we have the time zone difference. So, it's learning those kind of things that makes the communication easier. And I think that also helps with going back to things that we do by ourselves. Having that kind of, instead of trying to cram everything into 5 minutes, being okay to have a text message conversation that like spans the entire day, even though you could have it in a 5-minute conversation. Because we're both responding when the time is right for us, works.
Exactly. And it's also like, it's a balance. If you're sharing, if you're saying, hey, I'm going to go do this for like a few hours. I'll check in with you afterwards. Like that type of thing is so great because then you actually have alone time. If you don't if you don't tell somebody that you're like, they're going to be expecting the text and you can actually feel that stuff. So it's like being able to like understand how to essentially say, I'm going to go do this. I'll be done by this time. I'll text you by that.
Or
I'll let you know.
Or like the last recording session that we had, you sent me a text message saying, hey, I've got something that came up. Can we meet earlier?
Yeah.
And it all worked out because I was able to hop on a call. Couldn't hop on early today, but last time I was able to hop on early.
Exactly.
So having that kind of expectations with the communications with the people in your world, I definitely think helps. And for me, it helps me build that time to where I can have quote unquote Katie time. I can send my last text messages at 8 o'clock at night and be like, okay, telling everyone I'm going to bed, quote unquote. When in actuality, I'm up for another 2 hours listening to my audiobook and crocheting or doing whatever I need to do for the evening and not have to worry about being interrupted by text messages or social media messages because I've kind of said goodbye to my peeps for the day.
Oh, that's true. I usually go to bed at around 8:30. And like a lot of people tell me, they're like, what?
Well, you also get up super early in the morning.
I do get up at 5:30. So it's like, and it's funny because a lot of people think I'm a morning person. So they're like, oh yeah, you go to sleep early, you wake up early. I'm like, my first meeting is only at 11:30
Yes, because
because
that whole morning time is ace time.
yep, exactly. I love my morning time. Like I love being able to sit in front of my Gohonzen and chant for like an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours, depending on how much I need it.
Mm-hmm.
I love being able to get my own coffee. I love being able to set my gratitude list for the day because otherwise I'm pretty not nice. Um, I have my dog, and my dog usually goes out. She wakes me, she's my alarm clock. I don't need to
Mm-hmm.
I don't need to set an alarm. 5:30 or 6 o'clock, she wakes me up. It's pretty nice how I get to just allow that to kind of flow.
Right.
I also love getting coffee by myself. I do. That's kind of expensive, I'm not gonna lie.
That can add up, but like what I've done is I love iced coffee during the summertime.
Mm-hmm.
I got myself a pitcher for making cold brew coffee in the fridge.
Ooh,
So
yummy.
then that way I can, the night before, prep the coffee grinds in my little pitcher and stick it in the fridge. The next morning I get cold brew coffee if I want it. Or I have my Keurig machine that I can make myself a cup of hot coffee if I want hot coffee. But I also do things like I have hot chocolate. I have, flavoring that I can add to it if I want to make myself a fancy cup of coffee instead of going out because I realized how much money I was spending at Dunkin' Donuts.
Yeah,
I
Dunkin'
was
Donuts will get
treating
you.
myself to coffee. Now, granted, Dunkin' Donuts was not as bad as how much I was spending at Starbucks.
Yeah,
But,
and espresso's great.
those are special treats.
Um,
So I can still treat myself at home. And then if I happen to be out with friends or with my son, for example, we might stop and treat ourselves to coffee out instead of making it at home because then it makes it even more special.
yeah, then you get to do that together.
Yes. And especially with my son off at college and I don't see him every week anymore because he's now in an apartment. He's not in a dorm room anymore. He's upgraded to an apartment on campus. So he has a washing machine and a dryer. So he doesn't come home to do laundry anymore.
He's an adult.
He's like full-blown adult now. And he's got a car now. So he doesn't need to come home and borrow my car anymore either. It's like literally I see him maybe once a month at this point. So really getting that cup of coffee with my son is like really a special treat for me. And I know that's me, mom, emptiness syndrome. Deal with it, people.
It's totally allowed. Totally allowed.
It's totally allowed.
What other things did you like now that you have a lot of alone time? As I choke on my food.
Yeah, don't choke on your food.
Sorry. Back to what I was asking. I apologize. So, what now that you have this alone time, are there other things that you've started to realize that you like doing alone? Like, for instance, I used to love hiking by myself. Now I like hiking with my dog.
I haven't, because of my circumstances and me having to being the primary source of income for the household, my focus has always been work. With this development of me time and finding things that I like to do by myself, is silly. Well, it's not silly, but to me, it sounded silly for the first dozen times that I did it. Was literally just make myself my cup of coffee in the morning and sit on either my front porch or my back porch.
That's
and just sit
wonderful.
outside while I'm drinking my coffee. Now, granted, I live on a busy road. So if I sit on the front porch, I see lots of traffic going by. It's kind of noisy with all the cars and the trucks and everything. If I sit on the back porch, it's not so noisy, but the view is the back of the townhouses on the other side of the alley and hearing the kids running up and down the alley playing and stuff like that. So, what kind of ambient noise do I want? Depends on whether I sit on the front porch or the back porch.
Sounds like a symphony.
Yes, but actually, the last 2 times I've done it, I've actually just put my headphones on and listened to my audiobook while I was sitting on the porch enjoying my coffee. So I'm just like, you know what? It doesn't matter which side I sit on. So it depends if I want, let's see, the sun rises behind my house. So if I want sunlight, I sit out back when the sun's coming up. If I want it to be shade, then I sit out front because the sun hits the front of the house in the evening. But that's something I started doing just because it was one, my mom treated me to patio furniture
Mm-hmm.
as a belated happy birthday gift for me.
Mm-hmm.
So I have this really pretty table and like 2-chair bistro set sitting on the front porch and on the back porch. So if, Austin and I will sit out there. If I have company over, we can sit out there kind of deal. I haven't sat out there and read a book for an extended period of time. That's on my list. Or sit outside and maybe work on my crocheting. I just haven't done more than like maybe 10 or 15 minutes outside. Because there's still lots of mosquitoes.
Oh yeah.
And
Yeah,
mosquitoes love me. And I come inside with so many mosquito bites that it looks like I got welts all over my body.
Yeah, as they should. As they should.
I just have really sweet blood.
I understand. I do the same. But I think like yeah, that's the one thing that keeps me from going outside is if there are mosquitoes, I don't go. I'm like, oh, no, it's okay.
Yeah.
Or I'm just off, all around me, just off, just like literally spraying it.
Which is fine if I'm going to be like outside all day. I don't mind the bug sprays. But if I'm going to be outside, for an hour, I don't want to have to come inside and take a shower to take that bug spray off because I can't stand. It's not that I can't stand. I just don't care for the lingering texture on my skin and the fragrance of bug spray. And I also think that there's a difference in doing quote unquote alone time activities with a pet versus trying to do an alone time activity with another human in the room. So, I mean, eventually one of these days I will probably get a pet. It's just not in my future at this particular moment in time because of everything else going on in my world.
And it's actually really funny. As social as I seem to be, like for instance, I mentioned to Katie, I'm going to some screening tonight with some movie that I'm in. And I really like my alone time. Like I love it.
Yeah.
I hold on to it. I cherish it. I cusp it. Essentially, I was actually explaining to Katie before. So being single, being with somebody, blah, etc. You can always balance out the alone time. But every time I ever got out of a relationship, there was this sweetness of alone time afterwards that I was just like it was just so nice. I'd watch a movie when I come home from work or any like a Buddhist activity, just watch TV. And then I don't normally drink a lot anymore. I just don't. But
Right.
I will take I kid you not, a lick of brandy, like not like the meniscus of a shot, like not much alcohol at all. Just very, very small amount, just to like let it tingle on my tongue as I'm watching the movie. And like that's it. And it's just such a beautiful, wonderful moment, especially 4 days out of the week where I'm just like sitting there, my dog's chilling, or I give her like some type of bone so she does chill, watch the movie, lick the brandy, enjoy my life. Good.
Well, I think that's something that all of us look forward to, not necessarily not being in a relationship, but just having that kind of freedom that if we choose to veg in however we see vegging, that we can do that and not have to worry about everything else that's going on inside of our household.
Right. I think the right word for it is peace.
Yes.
I love as ladies and gentlemen, for being in relationships, or if you're not, if you're in a house full of teeny little boppers, there's noise everywhere,
Yes.
right? Right after the high of the noise is that nice silence that you don't get very often. And they're actually called glimmers. Did you know that?
No, I did not know that.
Google the term glimmer psychology. Like it's actually very fascinating. I live for these moments. These are the most wonderful alone time moments that I love. As my dog stares at me.
Glimmer
And
moments
cries.
are small positive moments that can make us feel joy, peace, and gratitude. They're triggered by simple things like petting an animal, taking a hot shower, listening to the rain, hearing unexpected church bells, hearing a favorite song on the radio, seeing a rainbow, or a feeling of accomplishment. Glimmers are the opposite of triggers and can have positive impacts on mental health and well-being. They help us cope with difficult situations, negative emotions, and they give us hope.
Exactly. And don't get me wrong, the triumphant, I did it, I won, it's amazing, I achieved the big goal is awesome. It is.
Yes.
Even my dog is like, yeah. But like it is so much more enjoy like the little glimmers on the way to those victories. It's like a Joseph Phelps wine. So good.
Yes. And I can see where in the chaos of the world, having these quiet, personal, one-on-one moments being these moments of glimmer. But it's interesting for you, you were mentioning that it's quiet. For me, empty nest syndrome, quiet is annoying.
Yes, okay.
I
I mean,
don't like it being quiet. Also, yeah, there are times that I really do enjoy the peace and quietness in my house when there is no TV, there is no radio, there is no noise. But there are times I have to have something going on in the background. Otherwise, it gets to be too quiet. And for me, I know it's part of my, I would consider maybe a type of anxiety, maybe that it being quiet is a sense of being alone. And I know that's not true. But for me, if it's quiet for too long, I start to feel very, very isolated. And then my own personal anxiety just kind of gets in the way.
I think
So
it's
for me, I
that's
play music. I'll have a movie going in the background. I'll have my audiobook playing. So at least I hear something. And then I don't have to worry about the fact that, oh, right now there's nobody in the house but myself, but me.
I see. I mean, and it's also natural. Like we shouldn't be isolating ourselves.
Right.
Um, it's actually a really good thing to have like a certain amount of like points of contact a day because it's actually healthy. Um, so when I was in college, I didn't know what I wanted to do yet. So I decided to do internships for one semester. I did two internships, one in radio and one in TV,
Okay.
both part time. And then I also went to school full time.
That can be a lot just because I know what my son's college schedule is like with internships.
And then of course you have to be social and whatnot. So let's add the factors in of what happened to me at 20. And I was working, like a 30 Rock and also like a Sirius XM across the way. So NBC and Sirius XM. And I was working there, and I did this by my own choice.
Right?
Probably not the smartest idea. So imagine 20 hours out of the week you are working for radio noise, and then the
Mhm.
other 20 hours you are working on visuals. By the time I got home, all I wanted was silence
Right,
and just to close my eyes. Like
right, which I completely understand that. And yes, when I was working full time at a corporate job and Austin was a toddler and I was coming home and trying to cook dinner and everything being mommy, 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 having those 15 minutes of silence when he finally fell asleep before I started doing dishes or whatever for the evening was gold.
Yep, that alone, just
I
that.
completely get that, but that's not the case now with him being 20 and off at college.
Well, it's interesting that you say that. So I do live alone, and I'm like not 20. I have my dog.
Yeah, I'm
which
not
does
20
help.
either.
Yeah, but it's interesting because I love it. Don't get me wrong, as a female that is older in a city, it can get scary living alone. It's
Right.
true. It is true. But then when you have this giant dog,
Oh yeah,
it's
you're
not
good.
scary anymore. I'm fine.
You're fine.
This beautiful puppy that's eating makeup. Come here.
Well, that's the one thing that I loved about the fact when I was growing up, we had basset hounds.
Mm-hmm.
So basset hound is a full-size dog but super short legs.
Mm-hmm.
But their howl, their bark, is very deep. They are a bass. So they sound like they're bigger than Great Danes and Saint Bernards when there's a door closed and you can't see them. But these dogs were the biggest chicken shits on the planet.
Well, she kind of is too, which is hilarious. And so, come here, come say hi, come say hi. That's my big girl. This is her. This is Midnight.
She is getting very big.
She is getting quite big, right, my love? I love you. Yes, you lick my eye.
As you get doggy tongue in the nose and in the eyeball.
Exactly. I love my giant puppy, who I love so much. She sleeps with me now, and she's one giant big body pillow. And yeah, she's huge. As you can tell, she's trying to sit on my lap, and she's part Scooby-Doo.
She's like taking up the entire chair.
Yeah, she's part Scooby-Doo. She's half Great Dane, half German Shepherd. So she's like, all dogs go to heaven and Scooby-Doo.
Yep.
Right. So do you see this giant puppy that doesn't want to leave me alone?
She's a big dog that thinks she's a lap dog.
She's about to fall off my lap. Okay. All right. Yes. So the things that I love to do alone, also hang out with the dog.
Yeah.
She's like, I don't fit like you used to.
Yeah, once upon a time. But then again, I say the same thing about my son. He used to fit on my lap once upon a time, and now he's like 5'8". And so no, he's not gonna fit on my lap anymore.
This one's trying, as you can see. But on that note, yes. So things to do alone, folks. Find them, enjoy them. I think honestly, it is healthy to be alone when you can be. A lot of people don't do it. And then they're always like nervous about it because then they have to face themselves.
I think if we can all find at least one thing that we can claim as our time, whether it be singing in the shower, whether it be sitting on the porch drinking coffee, whether it be, taking our morning time to do our chants or whatever, as long as we take that time for ourselves, even if it's just, 10, 15 minutes a day, I think it helps bring us more centered. So then that way we can get everything else on our plates done, accomplished.
Yeah, like this one.
Like that one. So.
Yes. I'm going to.
Yeah.
And on that note, folks.
Yeah. On that note, we got to say goodbye this week. So everyone say goodbye to Midnight.
Bye.
As Midnight tries to eat Ace's face.
She's trying to get me to go bring her outside. I know, puppy.
Yeah. Okay. So you go take care of Midnight. We'll see everyone next week. Bye, everyone.
Bye. Thank you.
Thank you for joining us. We hope that the discussion today will inspire you to take positive action in your life. Until next week, be empowered.